Guilt is I did something wrong. Shame is I am wrong. There's a fundamental difference. Why do we feel lonely? Why do we feel disconnected? Why do we isolate? Normally because of shame. I don't feel worthy. I don't matter. They don't care. So to me, the number one ingredient for liberating shame is creating safety. And safety is created in the presence of another human being. Shame dies in the sunlight. So when you open up in a safe container, you're actually being seen. It's releasing shame, but it's also increasing the amount of self-love. That to me is healing. What's up, everyone? Welcome to this week's episode of Stay Grounded on the topic of shame. Hundreds of thousands of data points collected by my team at Liberate has proven that the number one most effective healing experience for an individual that creates the most impact long-term is helping them feel safe and seen in the witness of another human being. Now, the opposite of feeling safe is being judged. The opposite of feeling seen is being unseen, misunderstood, shamed. And this is why I wanted to record this podcast episode, because shame to me is a part of the human experience. It's something we all carry in some way, shape, or form. It's in fact the divider between the conscious and the unconscious mind. And when we can shift our relationship to shame, when we can understand how shame works, the way it binds in the body, and the most effective ways to release shame, and why that's even important, you create a very holistic tool for increasing the amount of vitality, the amount of radiance, the amount of love you experience in the world. Shame is a very powerful teacher and a very powerful thing to track. And I'm going to talk a lot about how I've worked with shame over the years. It has been my primary emotion that I've had to really learn to release, learn to come in right relationship with, and how to get better at feeling shame, how to get better at releasing shame, how to get better at moving shame through your system in a way that actually lasts, not just a temporary fix, or not just a fervy of I'm sorries, or there's more effective ways to do this. And so that's what we're going to talk about in this week's episode. And Alex,
Raj,
here we are.
let's talk about shame.
Man, it's
Why is it important to talk about shame?
it's just, I believe, the thing that is truly at the root of so much dysfunction in society. Like, I just feel it's the thing that isolates us from others, right? Like, and I come back to, like, there's a lot of studies that show, loneliness is more damaging than smoking a pack of cigarettes.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's so many studies that talk about the true health impact of loneliness. Why do we feel lonely? Why do we feel disconnected? Why do we isolate? Normally because of shame. I don't feel worthy. I don't matter. This won't mean anything. They don't
wrong.
care.
Mm-hmm.
I did something wrong. It's like these shame-based beliefs that there is something wrong with us, that we are fundamentally discardable. These are what's keeping us in cycles of disconnection, and therefore creating a myriad of challenges that are plaguing our societies. And so to me, healing shame and shifting our relationship to shame and understanding shame and knowing how to work with shame as a master teacher is a profoundly important topic for anybody who's on a healing journey. Because we all have stuff that we've locked away, whether it's habits and behaviors. It could be porn. It could be things that we've done, people we've hurt. Like, it could be things that we've said. It could be, the things we never accomplished. It could be it's such a complex web. So my desire today is to bring light on all of it in a way that maybe liberates some of the shame. If you're listening to this and you have things that you're ashamed of, maybe this will help you understand yourself better. Maybe this will help you learn a few tools to move shame. Maybe this will help you understand that, one, there's nothing wrong with you. You're absolutely divinely perfect. And that shame is just a mirror for where you get to release judgment and step into more authenticity in your life, which is a beautiful thing.
Yeah. And I know you've done a lot of work developing tools for people to help liberate that shame at Liberate. And so what have you found to be some of the most impactful things? Like, what do people do with shame when they feel it?
It's not about when you feel it. It's not about what you feel. Shame is uncovered in what you're not sharing.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
And what you don't feel safe to share.
Mm-hmm.
That's where shame is uncovered, right? So like, it's almost like let's say you and I are having a conversation. The depth of vulnerability that I show up with in this conversation is in direct proportion to how much shame I carry in my system.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if I have shame about my past, if I have shame about my mistakes, if I have shame over anything, I'm not going to bring it forward to you.
Yeah.
Right? So to me, the number one ingredient for liberating shame is creating safety, right? And safety is created in the presence of another human being. Like, to liberate shame, the most effective way to liberate shame is with others, right? Like, there's a beautiful quote. I don't know if this was Esther Perel or somebody, but I think it was, shame dies in the sunlight, right? So when you open up about something that you haven't opened up to someone about in a safe container, you're actually being seen and just witnessed. And then in that container, if the person holding space for you knows to just be a loving witness and can just hold space and not judge and just celebrate you,
Mm-hmm.
it's releasing shame, but it's also increasing the amount of self-love, right? The permission, and it's opening up your capacity. That to me is healing. That to me is healing. It's being held in the witness of a non-judgmental space holder, or it's being held in loving witness by someone who is not holding judgment. That to me is like the number one most effective way. And that's what we've really, our mapping sessions at Liberate are that. Like, that's what we've really mastered is created. We've taken thousands of people through mapping sessions now, and that process of being seen by another human. And whether you're even aware of having shame or not, it's just liberating it, right? And then you feel more comfortable and more open and more vulnerable. And you may not be able to share all the things in the world with your spouse or your world, but at least inside of safe communities, like, you're open. And that's the first step, I think, is just finding a safe community for you to open up about the things that you haven't been able to talk about in a space. So like, men's groups, women's groups, a therapist, a space holder, a person who's just going to not, again, judge. And there's ways to ask for that, right? And that's something we can talk about on this as well. Like, how do you, through relational context, create an environment for you to release shame? And how do you build the internal courage to share things that you're afraid to share with people? And why sharing the thing you're afraid to share with people is actually healing. That's a big part of healing shame. I've had many beautiful experiences in my life where I've shared the thing I was so afraid of sharing because I thought I was going to be ridiculed, broken up with. Like, there's just so much, but then there's also a deep part of me that's like, no, like, I love myself and I don't want to hold this shame that I have, because it's a story. The story that this person's going to reject me, break up with me, throw me away is a story I'm telling myself. What if I gave this human being a chance? And you have to feel safe with that human being, which is why it's important to find that constellation of humans, right? Like, who are those people? And that to me is like a big part of the work. But like, it's like, how can you just let yourself be seen in deeper and deeper ways? And that to me is healing. It's healing. It's releasing shame. And as you release shame, you you release judgment. As you release judgment, you come into more safety and more alignment and more connectivity and more self-love. And that then changes so many things. It changes the way you communicate, the things you say yes to, the things you say no to, your courage. I mean, it's just like a trickle-down impact. So that's why I think shame as a topic is trickle-down.
Mm-hmm. And we talked a little bit about like what people do. You know, it stays in the darkness until it doesn't, until you find a place that you're able to actually share that information, and that shame then dies. What is it like to be somebody who's can be that for somebody else?
Oh, it's just being a good friend.
Mm-hmm.
Be a buddy, you know, just be a buddy. Like we have group containers at Liberate. We call them buddy groups. That's it. Just be a loving friend.
Mm-hmm.
Just listen without judgment, without needing to say anything, without needing to fix, without needing to control, without needing to be like anything that you have to say. Like, in fact, when you're holding space for somebody, if there's something that's showing up for you, hold it. Feel it. Circulate it. Be the loving witness. That's a skill. It's a trainable skill. You can learn to be a good friend, to be a better human for another human. And that to me is a skill we can learn together, right? These are skill sets, coming back to resilience. These are relational resilience skill sets, you know, because the more you can hold space for another, the more deeper you can hold space for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And then the deeper you can go into your process. So it's all a matter of, you know, the depth of shame, the depth of judgment you can hold back. Like the thing you want to judge in another is actually the thing you're judging within yourself. Judgment's a great mirror for where you still hold shame. If you are judging another human being, if you are criticizing another human being, if you are ridiculing another human being, there is a piece within you that's bound in shame. Because if you didn't have that shame within you, you would then be able to see the humanity in the other person, the flawed nature of being human, the imperfection of the human experience. You'd have more compassion. And so a lack of compassion is a mirror for where there's shame. Judgment is a mirror for where there's shame. And ultimately, the more we can come into right relationship with our own internal judgments, with our own internal critics, with our own internal defense mechanisms, the more we're going to be able to hold loving space for others. So it is a process of love thyself so you could love other.
Do you think we're moving in the right direction as a society when it comes to shame and, I guess, things that are kept in the dark versus the light?
Oh, I really do feel like we're in a period right now of radical truth. Like there's a lot coming out right now.
That's for sure.
In the world, in politics, in everywhere, right? And I do feel like, I mean, this podcast has a platform because people want, you know, more vulnerability. I think we're all craving more vulnerability. I think we're all craving safety. We all, like, the nervous system thrives when it feels safe.
Mm-hmm.
It just feels so good to just let yourself cry in front of people and not worry about how you're going to be judged or how you're going to be seen or how you're going to be. It's like that. And when you just do that, like you're literally healing. That release of shame from the body is literally like your nervous system is just taking a big exhale. That exhale is rest and digest. That exhale is good. I think people are learning that's medicine they want, right? It's medicine you get to give yourself. It's not medicine to be afraid of. You know, like I think most people are so afraid of feeling because of all the judgments that are held around feeling. I can't express my anger because this is what it's gonna mean about me, or this is what that's gonna judge. Or like, okay, like let's create safe spaces for you to first come into right relationship with your own anger, advocate for yourself, release the internal critic and the shame, and then practice in community. Practicing saying what you need to say, speaking your truth, following the script of a hard conversation. Like, there are ways to and levels to the game but I do feel like we're in this chapter of relationship as a species, at least in North America, if I had to really speak to North America, it's the culture I know most deeply and intimately. I do believe that in North America, there's a desire for more vulnerability. And I would say it's a human need, the human need to let go of judgment and shame. So I do believe that that's the soul's journey, but we have to be willing to confront our shadow in order for us to get there. And that to me is difficult. And if there's any resistance, it's there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you've built what you've built at Liberate partially to help liberate people from shame and from that stuff. What have you seen be some of the most impactful things that have happened when people actually have addressed or felt seen?
I mean, dude, health markers improving, relationships transforming, finally can set boundaries that are self-honoring, their own ability to see their triggers with compassion as opposed to judgment, inner critics going away. Man, I can think of a list of the types of transformations I see. And it is ultimately a relationship. It's not that, and there's a difference between guilt and shame. Because I used to not want to get rid of shame because I thought it was keeping me safe. Guilt can be useful. Like guilt can be useful, like you don't want to completely not have a compass. Like if you step over the line and you do something that's not so great, like guilt is a feeling to say, hey, like this is probably a place to course correct or say I'm sorry or address it. Guilt is I did something wrong. Shame is I am wrong. There's a fundamental difference. The I am wrong forces you to collapse.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man, I'm such a terrible human being. I can't believe I did that. I can't believe I said that. Oh my God, I'm the worst. Whew. That self-deprecating cycle. Oh man, I shouldn't have said that. That really hurt that person's feelings. Guilt. Both are very subtle nuance. But learning to understand and distinguish between the two is a big part of healing. And so that's a big part of understanding your triggers. Like when you get triggered, what's actually being triggered? Is it a deep belief that you're not enough and that you're broken and that there's something wrong with you? Or is it actually your integrity coming in and saying, what you did wasn't right?
Mm-hmm.
You get to say, I'm sorry, or you get to own up to it. But if you have shame, you won't do that.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? So this is why it's so important to remember that when you release your shame and when you forgive yourself, self-forgiveness is a big part of healing shame. Forgiveness and self-forgiveness. Forgiving other people, forgiving yourself, a very powerful tool. Ho'oponopono is a very powerful tool for people who are working with shame, working with not being able to forgive themselves. I'm sorry, please forgive me. Thank you, I love you. Like even you are worthy of divine love, no matter who you've hurt or how you've hurt them. You're a being of light that made mistakes, and that's okay. That's okay. We all make mistakes. And the more we can come into right relationship with that truth that I will continue making mistakes, I will continue saying the things in ways that will, offend people and hurt people. That doesn't make me a bad person. And I can always repair. I can always say I'm sorry. I can always course correct. And that to me is like a longer relationship. Like to heal the relationship with shame is to heal your relationship with mistakes. Heal your relationship with failure. Heal your relationship with saying the wrong thing. Heal your relationship with your fear of abandonment. Or maybe there's an abandonment wound that has you deeply believing that you're discardable. That's so much shame wound in there. Those are the things we get to release. Those are the things we get to heal. And it's done in community. It's done by being witnessed. It's done by Ho'oponopono. It's done with consistent prayer. It's done with, as you're moving through your life and you make mistakes, like being quick to not judge, right? Not go into the mind and the critic, but to come into compassion and loving witness and be a loving coach versus an inner critic. There's a difference. Again, a loving coach is a good thing. You want everyone deserves a loving coach. An inner critic is the shadow side of that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so this is a lifelong journey. I'm still on it. You know, there's still places where I hold shame and I can feel it because I get very defensive. Like when I defend myself, I can tell that there's something I'm ashamed of or something. Like there's a depth of vulnerability I'm not letting myself access. And I think there's a lot of, and that's the humility, and there's certain qualities and skill sets we develop as you start to work with shame. And I think forgiveness, humility, non-judgment, safe witnessing, compassion, you know, these are words that I think all connect to this journey of healing shame. It's a self-love journey. The more you love yourself, the less you're going to shame others. It's just the way it is.
Yeah, because the more you can see them.
The more you see them, the more you see yourself and the beautiful human being you are, and how all of the things you went through in your life created the cocktail of human that you are. That includes the mistakes you make, your imperfections. When you see yourself in your totality, you can see another.
Mm-hmm.
And you can be kinder, more loving, more empathetic, more compassionate, more forgiving of others.
Yeah.
It's a cycle that keeps on giving. When we address our own judgments, the judgments of others just dissipate.
I love it.
Yeah.
I think it's a great place to wrap up because
Yeah.
it feels like something we can all do. We're all on that journey. So
Totally. Yeah. It's a lifelong journey, and you know, for everybody listening, like, there's nothing to be ashamed of. In fact, judging yourself for being judgmental is the same cycle.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
don't shame yourself for being judgmental. Just recognize that you were there. Forgive yourself. Forgive others. And then choose a different path forward. And you can fall as many times as you want. I loved when we had John Mackey on the show, he said, "You're guaranteed to make the same mistake twice." I love that because I'm somebody who beats myself up when I make the same mistake twice. I'm like, you already learned this, dude. What the heck? But no, I get to be kinder to myself. And I get to be more loving. And that doesn't take away from my drive and my excellence. And it doesn't take away from anything you do in the world. It's just drifting from an inner critic to a loving coach. Anyways, love you, bro. Thanks for being here.
Yeah.
Everybody, that's a wrap for this week's episode of Stay Grounded. I'm your host, Raj. This is your old friend, Alex. And from us, stay grounded. We'll chat soon. Thanks so much for joining us today on this week's episode of Stay Grounded. I hope it was helpful for you in accessing deeper insights and wisdom into your own way of being. If you're on an inner journey and want deeper insights from my own, head to my newsletter at rajjana.com/stay grounded to access my weekly, sometimes more than weekly, email update. This is a space where I can be much deeper, much more vulnerable, and share a lot more about what's happening day to day in my life that I don't get to share on the podcast. And so if you've been impacted by the podcast and want to build a deeper relationship with me, head to rajjana.com/stay grounded to join the newsletter. I can't wait to see you there. See you next week.